All right, fourth grade. Today we are going to start our clay looms. Today we will definitely be using the Studio Habit Develop Craft, as we're going to use different clay techniques to build up our clay loom. You will also be using the Studio Habit of Envision. You need to really think ahead of how this is going to look, how it's going to be all put together, where your opening is going to be that you will eventually weave and create a loom with. So looking at mine here, I have my slab. So the first thing is to roll out your slab. You don't want to get it too thin. Definitely not thinner than mine is right here. You definitely want to make sure it's smooth so you can get a little bit of the slip, a little bit of the water, and kind of smooth out any spots that you see, marks, to get it kind of all smoothed out so you're ready. Once I have my loom or my clay slab ready, I also want to make sure when I roll it out that it is going to fit into a Ziploc bag. So if you're not sure if you should keep rolling or stop, use this as kind of a sizing. So this is definitely going to be able to go into the Ziploc bag, because at the end of class today, you will not be done. If you are adding enough details, it will be probably halfway. So I have created some things out of extra clay. I have created a little monkey. I'm going to do a jungle theme here. And I created a branch that my monkey's tail is going to be hanging on. So I just kind of sat and pinched and pulled and formed my branch hanging here, just kind of smoothed it out when it starts to crack, kind of pinched out some branches to create. And it's pretty flat on the other side so that I can score, slip, and smooth it so it stays onto my clay slab. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to scratch the one side of my clay tree here. This is creating those prongs or Velcro type chunks of clay that are going to hook onto the other side, and to kind of know where it's going to be, kind of lay it down here and figure that out. And then you want to scratch or score where the branch is going to be too. This is going to keep it together. Otherwise, when we put it into the kiln, it will just shrink away from each other. You need a little bit of slip, water, and clay. And you don't want to smooth it back out, so you just kind of drop a little bit of that onto your clay, either your loom or your branch. And then you kind of just, you can kind of wiggle it a little bit and kind of push it down into where you scored. The next step is if there's some scratches that got poked out, you want to smooth. You can use a tool, a flat tool here, or you can use your finger to kind of smooth out where you attached these so that it becomes one piece of clay. Now I have my branch. I want this vine, and actually I wanted it to be wrapped around, so I'm going to pull this up a little bit. I want this vine to be hanging from the tree, and I will have to scratch where this attaches as well and scratch the other side. So you're building up your loom with objects. These objects could be a theme, like mine is going to be kind of like a rainforest theme, kind of jungle. It could be just a whole loom about you. So if you wanted to do like a sports, like if you're a swimmer, you could create some water, you could have some goggles, you could have a swimsuit, whatever you want to add. So I have my monkey I'm going to add over here. So the first thing today, though, I want you to make your slab. Then you can start making your objects to go onto your slab. I need to also score my monkey here. So I'm going to scratch the back, scoring it. And I'm going to score where the monkey's going to be attached. Add some slip. And then I'm going to kind of wiggle it on. I want it to kind of hang from my branch here. All right, so I kind of push it into the slab, smooth it out, making sure that it's part of the larger piece of clay. Once I feel like that's secure, I need to start thinking about where's my actual weaving going to be. So I want it to be right here in the middle. So I'm going to first, before I cut it out, it's a good idea to just lightly draw. Definitely if you're getting close to the edge, you don't want to get this too skinny, or that's where your loom will break. I also forgot I need a spot for my, unless I push this up, I need a spot for the holes where my yarn to make my loom is going to go in, so I'm going to lower this a bit. So I'm going to go across. I would try to make my rectangle as big as I can so it makes it easier for weaving. Kind of go across. I think I could go over a little bit more. Okay, so that's going to be my opening for my weaving. I have enough room. I don't think this is going to break. I would definitely not get closer than that. So that is about a couple inches or 1.5 inches. Don't get close to the edge of that or it's going to start to break, your loom is. So I'm going to cut this piece out. Some other things you could do to your loom is you could add texture. We have some texture tools. You could add writing. If you want to write your name on this loom somewhere, I could like write gearing down here. You could make your writing be with, if you make a coil, and then you could add, so if I wanted like a G down here out of my vine, it could be a viney G of some kind. So many possibilities to add. I think I just want this vine to be hanging maybe around my monkey here, coming down. So I'd have to decide where this one's going to be. So to make a coil, remember, you just take a chunk of clay and you roll it, and it's easier when you put it on the table and you roll it up and down, and it'll slowly get longer and longer, and you can add those items on it as well. So once I have this, I need to remember that I am making a loom and it needs to have holes for the yarn to go through. So I'm going to use a straw, and I'm going to make sure I have the same number of holes up above as I have below. So, and I also don't want to get too close. So I have 1, 2, and if it does this, you kind of want to push it open. So it's a circle when you push it in. So just go down and up, down, up. I have 4, 5, 6. I think that's about as many as I can fit. I definitely don't want to get 2 to the left or 2 to the right, because I have to remember this is my edge of my loom and no yarn's going to go from here across the clay. So I have 6, so I'm going to do the same thing down below. I'm going to do a row of 6 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my last one, 6. So I want to make sure that this loom isn't going to fall apart, because if it's going to fall apart now, it's not going to make it through being in the kiln. So I also want to make sure it's going to fit into my bag. When you are done today, and you may not be done, you should not be done totally. I would probably add some next day if I have time. I will add some texture maybe into my tree here to make it look like tree bark. I will probably add some more vines. I could add some leaves. I can even draw and carve the leaves if I want them coming off the vine, but I don't want them to stand out as much as my coil. So think of all the things you can add. That would probably be my next day, all the details. So I'm going to very carefully, and if it's easiest to do it, have a friend help you, or to get it onto a plate to transfer it. I think that would probably be the easiest. So I put it onto a plate, and then I can slide my whole plate, get my hand underneath it, and slide this whole thing into my Ziploc bag. Now before I seal this, I'm going to damp a wet paper towel, and I'm going to put that into the bag to keep the moisture. Oh, here's my wet paper towel I just got, and I'm going to lay this in with my clay. It doesn't have to be on top of it, around it. It's just going to keep the moisture. I'm going to push down to get all the air that I can out without smushing my loom, so that it stays wet for next week. If it dries out at all, it's going to be really hard to work with it. So when I get done with this sealing, I want to make sure that it's sealed. This whole thing will go on the silver tray. I also want to make sure I Sharpie my name on the bag so that I know which is mine next week. Have fun creating.